Judith Butler, Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity. Welcome to an enlightening journey through Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity by Judith Butler. This summary unravels the intricacies behind Butler's revolutionary concept of gender performativity, showcasing gender as a repetitive performance rather than a fixed identity. Prepare to challenge conventional notions as we delve into how gender roles are enacted and reinforced through social norms and linguistic practices. Discover how Butler dismantles the sex-gender binary, revealing the socially constructed nature of these categories. Furthermore, explore how language plays a crucial role in upholding traditional gender norms, while also offering a space for subversion and redefinition. This thought-provoking work is not just a critique, but also a call for a more inclusive understanding of gender, liberating it from the confines of binary frameworks and allowing for diverse identities to flourish.
Performing identity. Imagine stepping into a role rather than simply being it. This is at the heart of Judith Butler's revolutionary idea of gender performativity, introduced in her seminal work, Gender Trouble. Butler challenges the conventional notion of gender as an innate attribute by proposing that gender is a series of performances consisting of actions, gestures, language, and behaviors that align with societal expectations. These performances dictate how individuals express their identity, through the clothes they wear, the way they move, or even mundane routines like household chores. Each action is a nod to societal norms, and through repetition, these norms are unwittingly strengthened. Consider a familiar example: a male buys flowers for his female partner on Valentine's Day. This simple act is not just a kind expression of affection, it is a performance reinforcing the traditional expectation that men should demonstrate love through such gestures. Similarly, a woman taking on most household tasks enacts and perpetuates the age-old belief that domestic responsibilities fall on women. Even in rejecting such conventions, individuals continue to perform gender roles in subtle nuances of their daily lives. The world of drag performance further illuminates Butler's argument. When a person who identifies as male performs femininity in drag, they parody and spotlight the exaggerated features associated with being female. This demonstrates that gender roles are not inherent but rather stylized expressions shaped by societal cues. Drag shows bring to light the reality that everyone participates in this dance of imitation when it comes to gender identity. The groundbreaking aspect of this idea is its empowering implication: if gender is not a fixed identity, then people can theoretically choose how to perform their gender. This notion offers a liberating perspective, especially for marginalized communities and those who identify outside traditional binaries, encouraging a broader, more inclusive understanding of gender. When Butler first published this concept in 1990, it was seen as a radical departure from the norm. Although it remains contentious in some quarters, many have embraced it as a powerful tool against rigid, heteronormative gender structures. This provocative idea continues to challenge and redefine how society perceives and enacts gender roles, paving the way for transformative discussions and a more inclusive future. Embracing fluid identities. Identity, especially gender identity, escapes being pinned down to a universal definition. Feminist theory long held the belief that women was both an identity and subject needing acknowledgement and representation, until Judith Butler turned this notion on its head. Butler argued that women, as feminist thought traditionally understood, was non-existent as a fixed category. Gender identity, including what we think of as women, hasn't remained constant over time or across various social settings. It morphs based on culture, era, and personal contexts. This variability dismantles the belief in a stable gender identity, compounded by factors like race and class influencing how one experiences and expresses gender. Consider how the gender identity of a wealthy woman might differ vastly from that of a woman of lesser means. French thinker Michel Foucault's idea that juridical systems create their own subjects mirrors Butler's assertion about gender. Such systems don't merely represent a predefined subject, they define, limit, and shape what it is to be that subject. This shaping process applies to the woman conceived by feminist theory too. Feminist theory critiques and often opposes power structures like patriarchy and heteronormativity, yet it inadvertently traps the idea of woman within these very frameworks. This constructs boundaries that any claim of liberation struggles to transcend while remaining within existing power structures. Butler calls for a radical shift in feminist politics, away from static categories of identity towards accepting change and flexibility in gender production. By doing so, this new path critiques and seeks to dismantle the bedrock of gender relations, patriarchy, and heteronormativity themselves. In this view, the distinction traditionally made between sex and gender becomes illusory, as neither provides a stable foundation on which to build a rigid identity. Moving forward involves embracing the fluidity inherent in constructing identity, recognizing each individual's varied and dynamic experiences. Gender's constructed complexity. Imagine a world where the simplicity of male and female categories is shattered to reveal a rich tapestry of identities. This is exactly the challenge set forth by the innovative thinker Judith Butler, who questions why society has long accepted a fixed viewpoint of biological sex while relegating gender as fluid and culturally crafted. Butler argues that the rigid labels of male and female are not innate truths but social inventions shaped by language and cultural narratives. Before any societal labeling, our physical traits hold no prescribed significance. It's society's discourse that molds these traits into the familiar categories of male and female, along with associated notions of masculinity and femininity. Contrary to traditional beliefs, these aren't universal truths but interpretations cast over biological distinctions. Acknowledging gender as a cultural construct naturally leads to reconsideration of sex as well, reshaping the binary understanding often taken for granted as reality. This revelation throws open the floor to intriguing questions about the very nature of gender construction. Is it a personal process where individuals sculpt their identities with agency, or is it largely driven by collective cultural forces? What role does the physical body play in this dynamic dance of identity, merely a passive canvas or an active participant? In probing these questions, Butler challenges the conventional binary structure that confines gender expression within narrow bounds. As long as societal discourse draws upon binary frameworks, masked as objective, the range of gender possibilities remains restrained. Moreover, Butler critiques the broader concept of identity, which tends to rest on problematic assumptions like coherence and unification. Such assumptions suggest that identities are consistent and seamlessly aligned, yet this idea of a neat, coherent identity is more idealistic than reflective of reality. In using heteronormativity as a lens, Butler exposes how the coherence of gender identities often depends on binary opposition. Understanding oneself as a woman becomes meaningful in contrast to men. When individuals defy these confining expectations, they not only broaden the gender spectrum but also highlight the limitations of the binary system in capturing the nuanced essence of human identity. Their existence challenges traditional norms, revealing flaws in the enduring belief of gender as a static, inherent attribute. The true complexity of identity stretches far beyond binary borders, urging society to reinterpret the essence of what it means to embody one's gender in an authentic, liberated way. Language shapes gender. Gender isn't just something we express through behavior, it's deeply embedded in the language we use. Language holds the power to both uphold and challenge societal norms regarding gender, as it reflects the assumptions of a binary and heteronormative viewpoint. Basic elements, like pronouns, he and she, often enforce a strict male-female dichotomy, assuming gender is binary. Similarly, terms such as husband and wife assign a default heterosexual context to relationships, thereby marginalizing other formations. Consider the word mankind, which suggests that being male is the default standard for humanity, further marginalizing women and non-binary individuals. Recognizing these ingrained norms opens the door to change, a path pointed out by Butler. By understanding that gender norms are not innate but performed, we can start altering our language to foster inclusivity. The strategic use of language becomes a tool for subverting oppressive constructs. One way to do this is by employing gender-neutral pronouns like they, them, or ze, challenging traditional binaries. Allowing individuals to select their own pronouns and titles fosters self-identification and respects diverse gender identities. This creates linguistic space for non-binary and genderqueer expressions. Moreover, inclusive terms such as spouse instead of husband or wife, and partner instead of boyfriend or girlfriend, recognize a wider array of relationship structures beyond heteronormative expectations. The transformative power of language is also evident in movements within LGBTQ+ communities, which have reclaimed derogatory terms like queer, imbuing them with positive, self-defining meaning that resists historical oppression. Understanding gender as a construct shaped both by language and social practices is pivotal for a future where fluid and varied gender identities are acknowledged. By deliberately choosing our words, we can both reflect and enact a more inclusive and accepting world where gender identities are as diverse and dynamic as language itself allows them to be.
In the groundbreaking pages of Gender Trouble, Judith Butler leaves us with powerful insights into the fluid dynamics of gender. Her argument dismantles the notion of gender as an innate identity, instead presenting it as a performance shaped by social and linguistic structures. Butler questions the stability of established categories, arguing for a feminist politics that rejects them in favor of variety and fluidity. By exposing the performative nature of gender, she opens the door to a broader spectrum of identities beyond the traditional binary. Furthermore, Butler highlights how language, a tool often used to reinforce gender norms, can also be repurposed as a powerful means of resistance and identity affirmation. Ultimately, this work aims to empower marginalized communities by validating diverse experiences and encouraging the dismantling of oppressive structures, paving the way for a future where identity is as varied and expressive as our human experience itself.